I have scaled over 7 different e-commerce brands to $250,000, and I'm able to do this again and again simply because I've developed a step-by-step process that, when followed correctly, any e-commerce brand can scale to over $250,000 a month, including yours. Like maybe brands like these right here. So for example, this brand were already at $300,000 a month in the month of May, and in April, this brand did roughly $342,000. So May was actually a little bit slower. Or maybe this brand right here, which did roughly 200,000 pounds, which when you translate it to dollars is roughly $250,000 in the month of May. And then in the month of April, it did only $125,000. So that was a very big increase. Just 2 brands from the many we have done it for. And before we dive into the exact step-by-step process, let's kind of understand on a very broad overview level of exactly how this happens. So the process starts off with the first stage, which is the analysis stage. Basically looking at the back end, looking at the current level of the account, looking at if it even has the ability to scale, which directly takes us into the appearance stage, which is the stage where we go all in on perceived value. The third stage of this process is the strategy stage, or basically the lack of. What I'm trying to say with this is a strategy which you might be using, which has you at 50K a month or 100K a month. In most cases, it's not going to be enough to scale you to 250K or more per month in revenue. So this brings us to the optimization stage, where we're kind of taking the input coming in from the campaigns and then turning it into carefully planned out actions, which finally brings us to the most interesting and fun stage of all, scaling stage. But before we can get to that, we need to get through all of these 4 stages. Let's start off first with the analysis stage. For the analysis stage, it's really all about understanding where exactly your brand is and what you need to do to take it to the next level. So for example, with this brand right here, we understood that this brand, it was not at $250,000 a month. In February, it was barely at 71,000 pounds. In January, this brand was roughly at 53,000 pounds. So essentially, we had to first understand where it was in the overall journey, and then we had to make an approach based on that. To do this, we not only look at the Shopify side of things, but we also look at certain metrics. These 3 metrics that are gonna be your best friend. First one, search impression share. Second one, click share. And third one is not necessarily a metric per se, but it's keyword research. And then looking at those metrics as a whole for all of those keywords combined. In terms of search impression share or click share, these are the columns right here we're taking a look at to really understand what is this level of scale that can be achieved for this brand. Now, in simple terms, search impression share simply tells you how many impressions for searches you are getting compared to what is available in the market. So this right here, it says 27%, which essentially means out of the total 100 search impressions available in the market, these campaigns got a total of 27%. From that number, we got 12% click shares. You want these numbers as low as possible. Keep in mind, just because this might say 50% or even 60 does not mean that you cannot scale anymore. Of course, you can still scale. Keep in mind, the main goal of this step is to really jot down the different constraints that could potentially be affecting your brand at any given time. Now, a few examples of constraints are things like a low CTR, or a low conversion rate, or a low bounce rate, or not having the ability to scale. These are all constraints which then stop you from scaling to the next level. So this analysis stage, it should let you know if there is even room to scale, meaning the search impressions, click shares, if there's enough keywords. And in terms of keyword research, I really like to see that there's more than 5 to 10 keywords ranking for my product, or keywords I can potentially use, but also their search volume is more than 40,000 in total. Then that brings us to the second part of the analysis stage, which is understanding what is our constraint at any given time. Is it having a low CTR, or is it maybe having a low conversion rate, or is it maybe a high bounce rate? These are all constraints. And by the way, your e-commerce brand at any given time is only dealing with one single constraint. So for example, with this e-commerce brand, we see in the last 30 days, the CTR has been fairly low on account level. We ideally want it above 1%, but it's a 0.69%. But if we were to look at the ROAS, obviously the ROAS here is fairly good. It's above what we would want, but let's assume the ROAS was not where we wanted and the conversion value, it was also not where we wanted. Then obviously a constraint or a potential constraint would be that low CTR. So my strategy here in the analysis stage, it would not necessarily be implementing anything, but actually figuring out what the constraint really is. Then when it comes to the next stage of appearance or perceived value, that's where we would kind of focus more on it. That brings us to step number 2. Like I mentioned, it's the appearance stage or the perceived value stage. Now, I'm gonna do a quick search on Google for, again, my favorite example of 3D printer, because the appearance stage, the perceived value stage, is where this comes into play. What people see in terms of a search done on Google. This is your brand's perceived value on a very front end level, because truth be told, if your perceived value here is fairly low, I mean, if you're all the way at the back, or if your product, it just seems unprofessional, or you can barely see the product because it's on some gradient looking background, then obviously that's gonna harm your perceived value and nobody's actually gonna click on your ad to go onto your product page itself. So perceived value is really where things get serious, because again, looks matter, whether it's in real life or for your Google Ads account and Shopify store, and anyone who tells you they don't, they're just kind of lying to you. What this means is that you need to go above and beyond on the front end of your funnel to attract the right customer. That's exactly how you start to even potentially look into scaling to $250,000 or more, especially with Google's new recent updates, which are covered in Google's new Live 2023, such as the Google Merchant Center Next, which is a new form of the GMC. The algorithm will no longer even be needing a product feed to go into your back end, because now Google's Merchant Center with the Next is gonna be just looking through the front end, meaning your product page, and crawling through it to understand what you sell and understand your product through your descriptions and your titles. Now it's become even more important to take note of the perceived value and make it better. This kind of stage is divided into 2 separate categories. The first category in terms of perceived value is for the bad products, meaning the underperforming products. The second category is the good products. And to keep in mind, perceived value or your appearance stage is determined based on the image that you have right here. It's based on the SEO techniques you have within your product titles, within your product descriptions. It's based on the pricing you have for the products. It's based on these reviews or what kind of programs you have within the Google Merchant Center. All these things directly impact your perceived value. And the way I kind of go about this to really set things right, I pay more attention to the bad products or to the mediocre products versus those products doing the best, because any bad product is bringing down the overall campaign results. I mean, even if we look right here on a campaign level, we can see this campaign has a 9% CTR. This campaign has an 8% CTR. This one, 10%. However, because this campaign is spending the most money and it has the lowest CTR, it's bringing everything down with it, which means it does not matter if your CTR for one campaign is 9% or 8% or 10%. If there's a bad apple in there, it's gonna bring everything down. Same thing for your product. If we go inside to the product section, we can see some products doing really well, whereas some products are very, very poor in terms of CTRs or whatever other metric you wanna look at. So that's why in this perceived value or appearance stage, I focus more on improving the perceived value of the bad product. Any product not hitting my KPIs, any product not really profitable, I change up the product images, I improve product titles in terms of SEO, I look into adding more Google Merchant Center programs, I look into improving landing page, so on and so forth. And any good product which is performing well, of course you should be A/B testing, you should be looking to improve that product even more. However, for any type of optimization, I really like to create a brand new copied product page for that individual product, so the original one that's doing well, it does not get harmed. But really quick, if you're doing $40,000 or more per month month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. Because the strategies I'm talking about right here are actually the same ones I've used to scale all of these brands under my agency as well. But this kind of brings us to the strategy phase. And the main goal here is to just get some traction going and make the data gathering process here easy. Now keep in mind the easy answer here in terms of strategy is simply doing more of what you're already doing, whatever strategy you have that got you to that 30K a month, 40K, 50K a month. It's not gonna take you to the next level, which means that you need to now do something different. The best way that I've seen this work for multiple brands, for example, if we go ahead and open up the ad account for that specific brand, I just wanna go over these campaign strategy we have going on here. So for example, instead of just having one or a few campaigns, we have over 20 different campaigns running for this e-commerce brand. And that's because we launched one thing after the other, not just to test or not just to waste money, but to just get some traction going. That's really one of the easy answers, is just launch more stuff. Now that might seem counterintuitive and it might seem like you're gonna waste a bunch of money. That's not necessarily true, because you obviously are gonna be doing the next step after the strategy step, which is optimization. But as you can see here, we have multiple different performance max campaigns running at very high budgets, 1,200 a day or 50 a day, so on and so forth. But we do have a strategy in mind. We're segregating products out based on certain collections, so that's the strategy. And then we're just launching more and more things as we're getting positive results back. We're launching performance max campaigns, we're launching dynamic remarketing campaigns, we also have search campaigns going on. It's all about that momentum at the end of the day, because the more momentum you get, the more it's going to start to spend, and the more it starts to spend, the more data you get. That eventually brings us to the optimization phase. Now honestly, the only way your brand is really going to scale is if you take the outputs the data is giving you from those campaigns you are now running, and you actually turn it into meaningful actions. The way I do this is by just doing, first of all, campaign level optimizations. So going inside the campaigns, excluding the bad products, excluding any bad keywords, adjusting the bidding if needed, and moving products around based on how they're performing. And in terms of search campaigns, also excluding the keywords and so on and so forth. Really just optimizing inside of the campaign to make sure it starts to perform well, but also in addition to that, doing back-end optimizations. Because keep in mind, when you have budgets at this level where you're spending roughly $3,000 a day or $2,000 a day, whatever the number is, at that level, you're getting a lot of valuable data, and you don't want this data to just leak through the bucket. Because if you imagine a bucket that's leaking, all that water that you pour in this case, the water is the ad spend. When you're adding more and more ad spend, it's just leaking through those holes. That's not ideal. So you just want to smack those holes with some very strong tape. And the way you do that here is go into your back end, use the data you're getting here, look into the inside section of your performance max on the left right here, look into the keywords of your search campaigns, and then optimize your back end, your product pages, your product titles, your product descriptions, make them better in terms of search engine optimization, improve your landing pages to improve the conversion rates, and just doing whatever is necessary at that given time based on my constraint. When you combine all of these things, when you do all these things together, you naturally get taken to the last stage of this funnel, which is the scaling stage. Because by this time, all pieces of the puzzle should be connected properly, and it should be almost difficult not to scale. Now, keep in mind, you only want to even consider scaling when number one, you're profitable, number two, you have a healthy cost per conversion, but also number three, you actually have the ability to scale. So if you cannot even fulfill those orders, if you're already struggling, it doesn't make sense to scale, and you definitely want to stay away from it. This is kind of the last stage, which is, again, keeping those three things in mind and then starting the scaling process. So just scaling whatever campaign is working, either by scaling the budgets, by scaling the bidding strategies, or by just in general scaling the ad placements or the campaign types in general. So the first one, scaling by budget, I normally, when I'm approaching this level, my budget is already pretty high, maybe $500 to $1,000 a day. So what I like to do is I like to scale by 10% to 25% max, depending on how risky I'm feeling, and that's that for budget. I also like to scale by bidding strategies, so I won't necessarily change up the bidding strategies unless it's like a standard shopping campaign. To scale to $250,000 or more per month, I do like to use more smart bidding based campaigns, like based on target ROAS, target CPA. So I might change a standard targeted shopping campaign if it's on manual bidding to target ROAS or target CPA. But scaling by bidding strategies essentially means just lowering your restriction. So if you have like a 500% ROAS limit on one of your PMAX, scaling might mean lowering it to 400 or maybe just getting rid of that box completely. You can also scale by adding more ad placement, so not just relying on performance max, not going on to search, display, discovery, YouTube, so on and so forth, but also an easy way just launching more campaigns. These are all methods I use consecutively together to really achieve that scale. But if you're doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your brand to the next level. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But I want you to watch this video right here on how I hack the Google Ads algorithm to get it on my side so I can make this scaling process 100 times easier.